Hi, guys. Welcome to Real Food Recovery. We have a very special guest that I have been very excited about talking to. If you follow her on Instagram, you will know that she is a font of wisdom. And so let me tell you about her first, and then we will dive into a deeper discussion. We are here to introduce Dr. Ann Hester. She is a double board certified physician in internal medicine and lifestyle medicine, and among fewer than 0.1% of physicians worldwide formally certified in lifestyle medicine. After more than 3 decades practicing traditional internal medicine, Dr. Hester shifted her focus to an evidence based approach that addresses the root causes of chronic disease through nutrition, physical activity, which I cannot wait to talk about, restorative sleep, stress management, social connection, and avoidance of harmful substances. Dr. Hester now dedicates her work to helping people understand how everyday choices, especially food, profoundly influence metabolism, inflammation, hormones, brain health, and long term vitality. She specializes in translating complex medical science into practical, sustainable strategies that real people can use in real life without extremes or gimmicks. She is the founder of PatientWorld.net, an on demand health education platform, and the creator of the PTR Reset Framework, Prevent, Treat, Reverse, which empowers individuals to take an active role in improving health outcomes and reducing disease risk using lifestyle medicine principles. Known for her clear, compassionate, and science grounded teaching style, Dr. Hester bridges the gap between conventional medicine and real food, lifestyle based healing, helping people move from managing symptoms to building lasting health. And I can tell you, if you follow her on Instagram at Coach Dr. Hester? No, Ann.
And Coach Dr.
Coach
Ann.
Coach Dr. Ann,
Yeah.
Coach Dr. Ann, you will see that she puts her money where her mouth is, and all of her posts are really geared around these topics of simple, I would call them preventative medicine, and you will be better for it if you follow her sage wisdom. So, before we get into it, do you want to tell me a little bit about how you got interested in health? And that's a pretty big shift from what you were doing for 30 years to switch to something that, you maybe may or may not have known whether it was going to be successful or not. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
First of all, thank you for your kind words and thank you for having me
Oh,
on your show.
you're very welcome.
So, I practiced internal medicine for about 30 years, and I saw an unbelievable amount of unnecessary suffering and premature death. And I noticed there's a huge gap between the way doctors think and the way patients think. And
Hmm.
so I decided I'm going to create a platform called PatientWorld.net. And I'm going to get all these doctors to do all these mini courses to explain in lay terms what people need to know about heart disease and other things.
Hmm.
And as I was looking around, I met this doctor who was board certified in lifestyle medicine. And I'm like, sounds interesting. Let me hire her to do a course. I recorded her course and I just sat there with my mouth wide open. It's like, I've been a physician for decades. How is it that I had no idea that we have all this scientific knowledge on ways to prevent, treat, and reverse diseases naturally? And after I recorded her course, I had it up on my platform for a while and I was learning lifestyle medicine all the while. And I went back and I signed up at the College of Lifestyle Medicine to go through the lectures and the courses and the lives and so forth and sit for the board examination. And so I got started in lifestyle medicine because of my passion for medicine and creating this patientworld.net platform.
Hmm.
And that's how I learned about it.
Beautiful. And I'm assuming this has worked out better for you and led you more to where you want to be at this time.
Absolutely. I will never get out of my head things I saw back in medical school.
Yeah.
Patients There was a lady who had a breast cancer the size of a golf ball, the outer left breast. It was draining green pus. I
Oh,
was a
come
third year medical
on.
student, and I'm
Oh,
thinking, there's nothing we can do. I mean, I didn't see her very often after that, but I knew I could touch it and look at it. It's like, this is breast cancer. It's huge breast cancer. Breast cancer has over 95% cure rate. And also, what's very important is we now know things that we can do to decrease the risk of developing breast cancer. If you develop breast cancer, once you're treated, you can decrease the risk of recurrence of breast cancer. And
hmm.
even if it's not completely cured, you can prolong your life with breast cancer compared to people who follow the status quo. And
Yeah,
so there's just so much out there, so much information. And even the American Medical Association endorses lifestyle medicine and put out a resolution in 2017. Doctors need to learn lifestyle medicine and apply it
yeah, yeah,
based on decades of scientific research.
yeah. Agree. Agree so much. In fact, right before this call started, I was actually on the phone trying to make my annual mammogram appointment, but I was on hold for too long and I'm going to have to call him
I
back after
understand
we're
how
done
that
here.
goes.
One of the things I had a whole list of questions I wanted to ask you, but I was kind of perusing your Instagram last night, and something that jumped out at me that I really want to make sure we talk about is you brought up the fact about how sitting is the new smoking. I'm
Yes,
like, oh my gosh, I want to make sure we talk about that. Can we go ahead and just jump in with that?
absolutely. So, for one thing, when you sit for more than 30 minutes, it does something to the enzymes that deal with your cholesterol. And so you could run multiple times a week. You could play tennis 4 or 5 days a week. But those weekend movie binges or even sitting still for hours at a time, those things still decrease your life expectancy. And so don't assume that because you are physically active, that that's all there is. That is a huge step in the right direction.
Hmm.
But if intermittently between those episodes of exercise, you're just kind of sitting around for hours at a time watching TV. You pull back some of that positive benefit. And so people need to understand that they need to keep it moving, as they say. And there are
Hmm.
so many ways. I work at home now in administrative medicine, but all I do is I put some 2x4s under my desk. I got the another desk on top of that I can lift up with my computer, put a treadmill underneath, and I'm at a conference or talking or doing whatever, typing, the endorphins kick in. I'm getting healthier. So there is a way to get exercise in no matter what you do.
I agree with that as far as I hear people say, oh, I can't exercise, I have this. And there's always something.
Mhm.
I don't care if it's arm raises. I mean, you
I
can
do
do
that too.
something, right? And I
Yes.
have heard a lot about how a sedentary lifestyle is the next disease. So I'm glad we're talking about that. And one of the three reasons I bring that up is because we have four foundational pillars at Real Food Recovery. The first is single ingredient food or non-processed food, but sleep, exercise, or movement, if you don't like the word exercise, and spirituality, those are all equally important to food as far as lifestyle prevention. And so that's why I wanted to bring that up. I recently heard a podcast about people talking about exercise snacks. Have you heard about that, where it's just little increments during the day of exercise? If you can't do
No, but
like,
I do that.
yeah.
I
So
do that regularly.
that's what I was going to ask you, how you felt about, let's say one of the excuses is I don't have an hour or 2 hours or whatever, but you might have 5 or 10 minutes here or 5 or 10 minutes there. Oh, look at
Pick up the
for those of
weights.
you that
I
can see
mean,
it.
have
Uh-huh.
something nearby. All you have to do, the national guidelines state that you should try to get in 150 minutes of moderate activity or 75 minutes of vigorous activity or some combination, plus 2 to 3 days a week of strength training, like weightlifting or something. You do not have to get that in all in one day. As a matter of fact, you should not because
Hmm.
you need to space it over time. So let's say 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And of those 30 minutes, You don't need to do them all at once. You can do
Hmm.
3 10-minute blocks. You can do 6 5-minute blocks. And
Hmm.
sometimes I just get up, I'm at my computer, I just jog in place for a few minutes, take a
Hmm.
break. A few minutes later, I pick up my weights. A few minutes later, I start doing this stretching. There
Hmm.
is a way to get it in over the course of a day. If you start in the morning, you do a few minutes here, a few minutes there. By the end of the day, you will have accomplished a great deal. And so
Hmm.
that may be better for your lifestyle. You don't have to do an hour walk several
Hmm.
times a week. You don't have to do that. So there are multiple ways. Be creative. Use what works for you. And what you mentioned is what we call in lifestyle medicine like micro habits. And
Yes.
so you do a small amount and then you build on it. So maybe you do, you know, 3 minutes of something one day, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. You use the micro habits to get you where you need to be.
Yeah, I agree with that because so many people hear the word exercise or movement and are like, I can't do all that hard stuff. It's going to hurt. I don't want to do it.
You don't need
I'm
to.
right.
You don't
So
need
that,
to.
and it doesn't have to be killer workouts. It's
Absolutely
be
not.
movement.
I
Mhm.
have a membership to our health club. My husband pays for it because it's too expensive for me to continue to use it to pay for it because I haven't been in years. But we
Mm.
keep it just in case we want to go swimming in the summertime.
Hmm.
But this health club, it has everything you can imagine, and
Hmm.
it's 25 minutes away.
Oh.
And at the end of the day, I'm probably not going to do that. But
Hmm.
I'm sitting in my office 9, 10 hours a day. I can get up, I can jog in place, I can do a little Tai Chi, I can do a little bit of everything. But you have to figure out what you like. Turn on some of your favorite music and just dance in place. That's
Hmm.
movement. You don't need to exercise, so to
Hmm.
speak. Meaningful movement is medicine. That meaningful movement could be gardening. It could be
Yeah.
cleaning
Oh,
up your
yeah.
home. It could be walking around. There are so many things. Just keep it moving, whatever that means to you.
Mhm. And your body feels so much
Oh,
better, like
goodness,
with
yes.
stretching and being limber and things like that. I'm an avid exerciser and I hate stretching, but I do it religiously every time when I'm done working out because I know for me, I feel like stretching covers a multitude of sins whenever you're physically active. So just that alone, stretching, I think helps so much. But
I agree.
you mentioned something in there about habits and habit stacking. And I know that you've spoken about habits being larger than genetics. Do you want to touch on the importance of habits and how that works into a healthy lifestyle?
Yes. A lot of people think, oh, my mother has diabetes. My dad has diabetes. I'm going to get diabetes or I'm going to get
Hmm.
this. Genetics, that kind of sets the stage, but whether or not things take off is based on your habits. Your genetics rarely define you. There are a few diseases that are transmitted in what we call a dominant fashion, meaning you're going to get it no matter what. But the vast majority of diseases are manifested in a way we call multifactorial.
Hmm.
So multiple factors play a role. And so you can have 5 relatives with type 2 diabetes and never get it. You can
Hmm.
have 0 relatives with type 2 diabetes and you get it
Hmm.
based on the decisions you make. The habits that you practice daily, they make you. And so epigenetics basically deals with that little switch that we have in the body. Every day you turn the switch toward health or
Hmm.
toward disease. Just imagine a
I love that.
thermostat. It has the potential to make your house hot, but if you turn it up, it's going to make it hot. If you turn it down, it's going to be cold. And so
Hmm.
you decide. Your habits are the ones that really matter more than your genes in many circumstances.
I even tell people every single bite they take of food is ledgered to the good or the bad. You've got
You're
those little
right.
factories inside the cell that there's little minions in there doing tick marks towards cellular aging or cellular repair. Literally
Mhm.
every bite you take adds up. I agree with that so much, which leads into another topic about wellness and how some people are like, that's so restrictive. I don't want to live that way. And it seems like you just restrict and aren't having fun and things like that. Do you want to talk about your opinion on wellness being restrictive to some people? How what do you say back to them when they think when they talk about it in that vein?
That's what I used to think. And
I love
so,
that.
so you need to put on your creative juices. For instance,
Yeah.
the thought of tofu a few years ago is like, there's just no way, it's just not going to happen. And there is this, my kids brought home these sort of chips that have like this lime, cilantro lime sort of taste. It's a very zesty taste. And they happen to have that seasoning at Trader Joe's. And so I got the seasoning, I put it on some tofu. I got an air fryer, I chopped it up, I made a little batter, put that on. That stuff is good. I mean, I would go and eat that cold. They have the little chunks and they're
I
delicious. You figure out what you like, the taste that you like. Go to ChatGPT and say,
love
these are the
ChatGPT.
spices that I like.
Mhm.
I have an air fryer because you want to stay away from deep fried foods. I have an air fryer. Spray a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on. And ChatGPT will come up with recipes that fit your palate. I have done that
That's
so many
amazing.
times. I mean, you'll
Amazing.
be surprised that all the things you can find. I keep a lot of Instagram recipes as well, and I'm looking forward to trying one that has egg whites that you whip and whip and whip until they're stiff. You stick it in the oven, and then you have this bread, protein,
Yeah, like
no
cloud bread.
flour. I'm
Yep.
sorry?
Like cloud bread.
Exactly. It's called cloud bread.
Mm-hmm.
And so just
Mm-hmm.
open your mind, open your creativity. Doesn't hurt to
Mm-hmm.
go to ChatGPT or ask a friend. But I promise you, you're going to find recipes that you like. Cauliflower to me was a no-no. It's like, I'm not eating that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And so it looks so bland. And I went to a medical conference recently and they had some cauliflower with a batter on it. I guess they air fried it. It was so good. I kept going back over and over. And I get cauliflower regularly now. Brussels sprouts, like, no. And my teenager said, these are good. So why don't you try it, Mom? I'm like, yeah, yeah, okay. I make you eat broccoli, so I'll try this. I chopped them up, put a little extra virgin olive oil on, some Italian seasoning, put them in the oven. The outer part was crispy, like these crispy chips. I can't get enough of that. And so
Yeah.
I'm saying all this to say that the foods that I thought were no way, don't think about it, I don't even want to look at them. Now they're some of my favorite foods because I figured out how to prepare them in a way that I like. And so that's really all it's about, is figuring out what spices, which techniques are going to make these things extra palatable. So things that you used to say no to, you say, give me more of.
Yeah. And so for me, when people talk to me about wellness is so restrictive, well, you know what's
Mhm.
restrictive to me is heart disease or having your
Oh
chest cracked
gosh.
open or having type 2 diabetes or obesity or inflammation or metabolic syndrome. I mean, you know what? That's a real pain to have to
You have no
navigate.
idea. I was a hospitalist, a hospital-based doctor for most of my career.
Yes.
And I was the one
Hmm.
who admitted people with diabetes and the foot was at the point they had to get it cut off, or
Hmm.
the stroke. And mom, who was very active a few weeks ago, is now paralyzed for the rest of her life,
Yeah.
or
Hmm.
this cancer that could have been preventable. That was my
Hmm.
life for
Hmm.
decades. And so
That's tough.
there is just no way you can compare lifestyle changes to the other side. So just imagine a tsunami is coming your direction. You see it
Yes.
far out, like, I'm
Hmm.
not going to worry about that. It's too far away. It's not going to happen. And by the time it
Right.
happens, it's okay. And
Right.
then it slaps you, is right there, and you can't get away. That's what our lifestyle choices do to us. We
Yeah.
put them on the side burner thinking, I'm not going to worry about it. And then by the time it catches up to us, we can't do anything.
Right.
And that results in so much unnecessary pain and suffering.
Right.
And that's
Right.
an excellent point. It goes beyond diet. It is lifestyle in many ways, decreased
Hmm.
stress,
Oh, yeah.
sleeping well, connections, all of
Yeah.
those things, meaningful movement, avoiding toxins, all of those things go together. And
Yeah.
you can choose now that you're healthy. how you want to live. What is your future going to be? Do you
Yeah.
choose health or do you choose sickness? Fork in the road today. Do you want the next 20 years of your life to be filled with vitality, longevity, enjoying life with your family, friends, doing all these things? Or do you want to spend your money on medical bills and have your kitchen table look like a pharmacy?
I mean, that's so true when people say the single ingredient foods, it's so expensive. All that health food is just so expensive. Well, you know what's expensive is insulin.
Medical bills,
Yeah, medical bills and not feeling good and missing work and all
early
of those things.
retirement.
And
Yeah,
there's a way, I'm getting off on a tangent here.
that's okay.
Shop what's on sale that week. I always see what
Pay for it.
produce is on, special this week. And usually your
Mhm.
grocery stores have great weekly sales on different produce and get creative, like Dr. Hester was talking about, and find a fun new recipe to try with whatever
There you go.
the produce department is selling that week. But you mentioned one thing about stress and how it impacts our health because first of
Everything.
all, when you don't feel well, that's extraordinarily stressful. So you're compounding stress there. But do you want to talk about the impact of stress on our health and how that matters, how that adds up,
I would
and what do you
love to.
do? Yeah, please.
Okay. So you need stress hormones. You need cortisol if you're running from a tiger. It's
Yeah.
important. But if you're
Uh-huh.
not running from a tiger and you're not in danger, you don't want that chronically elevated level of cortisol. Cortisol, or chronic stress hormone, the main one, is associated with so many diseases. And people don't understand that it can literally shorten your life expectancy.
Wow.
This is not just, I feel anxious, let me have a cup of chamomile tea. This is putting down the foundation for multiple diseases that can take you out of here years earlier
Yeah.
than you need to pass away. So chronic stress is huge. You mentioned your pillars. So they overlap with the pillars of lifestyle medicine, which are whole food, plant predominant diet, meaningful movement, and we don't really say exercise, we say movement
It's a dirty word to some people.
for some people. Connections, because
Yes.
meaningful connections, love, believe it or not, those meaningful connections release this hormone called oxytocin. It's a
Right.
love hormone, and it
Mm-hmm.
counterbalances cortisol. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have avoiding toxins, stress reduction, and meaningful sleep. And so you
Mm-hmm.
put all these pillars together, it's kind of like spaghetti. Each individual one matters. Each individual one matters, but you put them together and
Mm-hmm.
the impact is huge. They build upon each other. Stress impacts your sleep. You don't sleep, that means what we call the lymphatic system, the system that cleanses the toxins from around your brain, doesn't get a chance to really kick in. So the next day you may wake up groggy or foggy. Chronic stress shrinks the CEO of your brain. The
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex,
Yeah.
chronic stress makes it smaller. You do an MRI, you can actually see the difference.
Yeah.
Chronic stress shrinks the hippocampus, another part of your brain. You do an MRI of a person
Mm-hmm.
under chronic stress, before and after, you can see shrinkage of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You want your memory. You want to remember those passwords. The
Mm.
hippocampus deals with your memory, and the prefrontal cortex is like the CEO of the higher cortical thoughts. And then you have the amygdala, another part of your brain that's associated with anxiety and temperament and
Fear.
so forth. That gets
Mm-hmm.
bigger. So the
Mm-hmm.
last thing you want over a period of time is to have your memory fade,
Yeah.
your higher cortical functions fade, and your anxiety level go through the roof. And you can
Mm-hmm.
pick it up on an imaging scan. So this is
Yeah.
not just, I'm a little stressed, I need to calm down. It goes way beyond that. And
Mm-hmm.
so, as I mentioned, the stress shrinks parts of the brain and expands another part of the brain.
Yep.
Stress can impact your ability to sleep. When you don't sleep, your hunger hormones get off. You're going to be eating, eating, eating when your body doesn't need anything. all sorts of things get off the hormones, multiple hormones get out of whack when you don't sleep. You're not sleeping because you're stressed. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And if you're stressed, it impacts your gut microbiome. Your gut microbiome, your gut is your second brain that impacts your mood, your ability to fight infections. I mean, it
Serotonin.
impacts
Hmm.
everything. And that's 90% of serotonin is the gut is involved in 90% of serotonin. And for those of you who don't know what serotonin is, it is a very important chemical. You've heard of Paxil and Prozac and so forth. They're in the class of drugs called SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They help your serotonin levels stay up, and so that makes you feel good. Your gut can do something very similar. Now, I'm not saying stop your Prozac or stop your Paxil and just work on your gut. But what I'm saying is that we know that serotonin is strongly associated with gut health. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people, they get their gut microbiome in order. The gut is happy, and hey, they feel better. They don't need all
Hmm.
the medicine they were on before.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. Stress is a big one. And the thing about stress is the body doesn't know if you're seeing a bear or you just feel like you're seeing a bear. So it
No,
reacts the same
same
way.
reaction.
And
Absolutely.
so that's why we have to work on managing it so much because of all the different things that you were talking about. I just happened
Yes.
to finish up a certification in grief and trauma informed coaching to add to my repertoire. And one of the things that I kind of relearned but didn't realize is that continued stress, like you mentioned, literally changes the structure of the brain. I'm like, oh my
Yes.
gosh, that is enough to make you want to stand up and do something about it. And it was interesting in these courses that I was taking, it was really focused on the grief and the trauma and how to deal with that. But it didn't talk a lot about the lifestyle. It little, but for me, the people we work with, no matter what the problem is, if it is grief, trauma, stress, things like that, let's focus on food. Let's focus on sleep. Let's focus on stress. Let's focus on spirituality, connections, movement, all those things. Make sure that we're getting those things. And then let's see what's left over. Do you
Mhm.
agree with that?
I
Focus on
think,
these basic
mhm.
lifestyle living things.
Yes. And let me give you an example.
Ooh, yes.
I am going through another program myself, dealing with the root causes of disease.
Yes.
And one
Yes.
of the modules is dealing with tapping. Are you familiar with tapping? It's amazing. As I was listening to it, I was just in awe. They took tapping to Rwanda. For those of you who are old enough to remember the massacre where people were macheted to death. And there were adults who saw family members murdered. They had PTSD. They went through the tapping, the different parts and so forth. This is just part of it. But they went through the full tapping sequence with them. And by the time they finished the program, a lot of them no longer had PTSD. They could remember dad getting macheted, but it
Hmm.
wasn't as painful. The same thing was done with the veterans who had PTSD. By the time they finished that study, I believe they quoted 47% of the vets with PTSD who had been at war, who had seen people murdered, 47% no longer had the criteria met to be classified as PTSD just from tapping.
That's amazing.
It's
That's a
incredible.
And one of the things that I really honed in on during my courses about, we hear the word processing, which is a big word, but what does it really mean to process your grief and trauma and all that? And really, as I've come to understand it and learn more about it, it's really just being able to integrate the example that you gave, integrate that experience into your life without it completely overwhelming you emotionally, and you being able to integrate it into your daily life and continue on to have this full rich life and be able to deal with what happened in a category, put it in a box to where it's palatable. It's never going to go away. right? That experience will never go away. But how can I deal with that so that it doesn't take over and I can still do these big, beautiful things in my life? Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. That's the foundation. I mean, it's not going to go away. But just like the case in Rwanda, where they could remember, one lady said, I can remember my father being macheted to death, but it doesn't destroy me inside anymore.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
memories are there, but it's how they're processed, as you say, how we deal with them. That's what can
Mhm.
change.
Yeah. So all of that is part of that stress topic. And for those people that haven't dealt with that level of stress, oh my gosh, it kills me. I mean, I was getting a lump in my throat when you were telling that story. I'm very, very tender. I can't imagine. I cannot
I could not have.
imagine living through that. And then the stress you had talked about how that affects your sleep too. Do you want to talk about the importance of sleep and how that, do you want to go into that a little bit more? And
Certainly.
maybe what can you do about it? Same with stress. If you have
Mhm.
a couple of tips on stress of how to deal with that. And then we want to
Okay,
make sure we get into food before I let you go.
certainly. Okay, so as far as stress, some of the things that I recommend, super simple, free. And this is just the beginning of the sequence, but just tap. Take fingers, you tap the top of your head. You can tap here, here, underneath your eye, underneath your nose, underneath your lips. You can tap next to your breastbone, lift up your arm and tap next to your breast. And studies have shown that when you tap, your blood cortisol level goes down.
I do feel calmer. Just
Really,
sitting here doing that. I really do. I felt like my
exactly.
shoulders dropped.
It makes a difference. I stopped drinking herbal tea after I started tapping. After the end of a long day, I used to drink herbal tea, and now it's like, well, I'll tap. And something else that's important to understand, if you're very anxious about something, like if you have irritable bowel or you start to feel a physical manifestation of the stress, you might be able to abort it with tapping.
Ah,
It's
love
worth a
that.
try.
It is.
Also, the box breathing, taking a deep breath in through your nose, holding it for 4 seconds, deep breath out, hold it for 4 seconds. So it's 4, 4, 4, 4, in, hold, out, hold. Box breathing, you can do the box breathing and the tapping, driving down the street. You're in a car in a traffic jam. Instead of yelling at the person in front of you, breathe, tap and breathe. Other things, certainly exercise. Oh my gosh, that does a
Mhm.
tremendous amount to relieve stress. And you know how I said it's like
Agree.
spaghetti, these
Yep.
things work with each other.
Mhm.
Exercise is an excellent stress reducer. And of course, the chamomile tea, a hot lavender bath, relaxing, going in nature, nature walks. Those are wonderful for
Mhm.
health. And
Mhm.
so all of
Nature
this stuff,
bathing.
other than the
Mhm.
tea, is free.
Mhm.
So turning to sleep, most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep
Agree.
at night. And so we live in a society that you're rewarded for not sleeping. I remember once in residency, I went like 72 hours. I had a couple of cat naps, but 72 hours. And it's like, yeah, I did a 72-hour shift. So, but what did I accomplish? I mean, it was more like boot camp, and they don't let residents do that anymore. They make you get sleep. But when I was going through, if you had all those shifts back to back, it was what it was. You just did it.
Yeah.
But we know that lack of sleep, messing up your circadian rhythm, lowers your life expectancy. They have found an association with shift work and certain types of cancer, decreased life expectancy, dying earlier. One of my current associates was like, I've got to get out of emergency medicine. I knew I had to find another job because this study showed that ER doctors live shorter. I think the average life expectancy was in the 50s because of all the stress and the shift work. I mean, this is real. And so don't assume if you stay up till 2 in the morning and you get up at 5 and you make it through the day with 4 cups of coffee, you've done something. You have just hurt yourself. You have
Yeah.
just set a pattern in motion that can decrease your life expectancy. So sleep is vital. I mentioned before what we call the glymphatic system. It's like the lymphatic system. But the glymphatic system, just imagine a cleanup crew. When you're asleep, it cleans up the toxins around your brain. So you wake up refreshed, you wake up able to think on a high level. Also, your hormones really get out of whack. That's one of the worst things that you can find is the hormones get disrupted, particularly your hunger hormones. So your body thinks, I'm hungry when you're really full. You don't need anything. And so that contributes to
Yeah.
weight gain. And so it's difficult to get out of that cycle. So try to break it as soon as you can. So those are some of the major things about sleep and how you can prepare yourself for sleep. You've heard this. Turn off the screen, turn off your device, well before it's time to go to bed. Don't be on the device scrolling, 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 and then I'm going to turn
Mm-hmm.
out the light. I think I'm going to go to sleep. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably not going to happen because
Mm-hmm.
the melatonin, you've already kind of reset the melatonin, your body's natural sleep hormone, with all of these lights. And so you're doing a lot to impact the physiology. You want a cool room, maybe 68 degrees, to help you sleep well. You
Mm-hmm.
want a calm down, a routine close to bedside. So your body knows, okay, I'm getting ready to drift off to sleep. You may take a warm bath, you may journal, have on some soft music, turn the lights down a little bit, and just gradually get to that point that, okay, your body is saying it's sleep time. And so when your
Mm-hmm.
head hits the pillow, you're going to go off to Wonderland a lot quicker than if you're very active, you're drinking coffee until 5 in the afternoon. That makes it more difficult for you.
Uh-huh. You know, what's interesting is we were talking about habits earlier, and I love the topic of habit stacking. All of these things that you're talking about are habit stacking in your life to just make life a whole lot better if all this advice people would follow of everything you're talking about. And again, to me, wellness isn't restrictive. When following these suggestions that you're giving, it just absolutely makes your life so much better, especially if you're sleeping well. If you're not sleeping, you're not going to have a good life. It's going to be like a domino effect. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Something else that you mentioned, wellness, about 80% of chronic diseases are potentially preventable.
Agree.
So if you think of the enormity of that, you think of the heart disease, the strokes, the cancers, all of these things, so many of them, 8 in 10 visits are related to something that could be prevented, if not treated, or potentially reversed naturally. When I was going through medical school, it was anatomy, physiology. This is the disease. Here's the pill, or here's the surgery.
That's right.
We're moving in a different direction. We're waking
Hmm.
up. So
Yes.
the goal is not just to put a band-aid on. Okay, you have this disease. Let's give you this drug that may cost
Hmm.
money, may interact with things, and that could have long-term side effects. Why don't we just try to prevent it in the first place? We now know how to get type 2 diabetics, many type 2 diabetics, off of the diabetes medications naturally.
Yep.
There was a study, I think by Dean Ornish, if I'm not mistaken, that there is a diet, the whole food plant-based diet, that has the potential to reverse heart disease, the leading killer in America in most places. It is the only diet known to do that, meaning that if you take these people who've had a cardiac catheterization where they squirt the dye in and they can see the arteries and there's so much blockage, and they split them into two groups that are very similar. One group follow lifestyle medicine, including, a diet full of fruits, vegetables, grains, and so forth. And the other group, they just did the standard of care with the statins and the beta blockers and the aspirin and so forth. And they repeated the study a few years later. The group that followed lifestyle medicine had less blockage. They were getting older,
Wow.
but they had less
Hmm.
blockage.
Hmm.
The group that followed the standard of care had more blockage. There's nothing
Hmm.
like that. So if you can prevent a disease, if you can slow the progression or potentially reverse it naturally, what else could be more important or more significant to go for in your life? And
I,
with the cost of healthcare and the
right?
doctor shortages, I think now they're estimating 80 something thousand doctors short in 10 years. And so if just imagine if there are 80 something thousand doctors short and you live the average state is going to be 1 to 2,000 doctors short, maybe more based on the number of people. Imagine the 2,000 doctors, you're 2,000 doctors short in your state. You get
Yeah,
sick, you call. When are you going to get in?
right.
So think now and prepare yourself for the future, whether it's healthcare costs spiraling out of control or just the fact that there are no doctors to take care of you when you need it.
Right. And don't you agree with the statement that food is the number one preventable
It
cause?
is.
Yeah.
I think the World Health Organization even made that statement. But
Hmm.
yeah, food is the number one.
Food is your medicine. Food
It
is your
is.
medicine. Do you want to finish? I want to be respectful of your time, but I would love for us to talk about single ingredient foods,
Mhm.
shying away from ultra processed food, because our whole community is, my whole mission is based on helping people move away from sugar and ultra processed food. That's what we do at Real Food Recovery. We have a recovery coaching program to help people get back to the single ingredient food. So talk about that.
Okay. First of all, I have more time than I realized, so I don't
Oh,
want to rush through this.
okay.
I really want this to be impactful. I really want this to change lives. So
Yeah.
it was brought to my attention a while back, and I researched and I found it to be true that a lot of food scientists, they know how to make food with just the right combination of sugar, fat, and salt.
Uh-huh.
The hyperpalatable foods, then they're throwing on these
Hmm.
chemicals that you can't even pronounce. So they
Right.
make these foods and you just keep eating them. You eating them because they hit the same pleasure centers in the brain as are stimulated with sex, with opiates, with your favorite music. Literally, your brain sees pleasure when you eat these foods. So you keep eating more and more and more. You keep clogging your arteries, you keep putting on inches, and your clothes
Hmm.
get bigger. And then Big Pharma says, here, have a pill for this.
Hmm.
It's like we're on a treadmill, a hamster on a treadmill. These things are
Hmm.
put in front of us. Our brain chemistry craves more and more of them. So we're spending all this money on things that decrease our life expectancy. And then you have big pharma saying, I can help you live a little bit longer with this pill.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, it's scary, right?
Mhm.
So we work with people that are trying to get off the ultra processed foods because they're
Yes.
addicted. Same area of the brain of any other
Mhm.
addiction. So it takes people that have experience with helping people through this because we live in a society where it's everywhere. So
Absolutely.
that's the problem is our environment that we're
Mhm.
in that we're fighting against. So when people come to you, do you start from that place of let's look at your food consumption?
Food is always number one for me because, as you said, it is the number one cause
Mm-hmm.
of so many problems that we face. I
Mm-hmm.
remember there's this this article I read a while back, maybe it was a while, 10, 15 years ago, and it was very catchy, had a very catchy headline. You know how we talk about we live off the fat of the land?
Mm-hmm.
This article is dying off the fat of the land. Because and
Oh,
it was
wow.
very profound because that's actually what's going on. We are eating ourselves into
The
like
grave.
exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that over and over and over and over again. So many times I could not even count it in the hospital at the bedside, you know, explaining to a family member another thing I'll never forget is I was a resident, first year resident, and there was a man who came in. He was overweight and he was eating all the wrong things. The man couldn't have been more than like his late 40s, and he coded. He died, and we could not bring him
Oh,
back. And I remember being in the intensive care unit waiting room and having to tell his wife, young wife,
yeah.
I'm sorry, your husband died, and we could not bring him back. She fell on the floor screaming uncontrollably. This was decades ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Certain things just
Yeah.
really impact you.
That's trauma for you.
It is traumatic, and it just makes me want even more to tell as many people as possible, stop the madness. I
Yeah.
mean, you have control over your future. Step up and take control. Don't fall into all these traps being set for you because people are getting rich off of your sickness.
Oh,
People are
totally.
getting rich. You don't have enough money to go into retirement because all of the medical bills,
Right.
and other people are getting ultra rich and they won't even eat the same food that they make.
Mm. I was going to ask you when you start with people, first of all, I was going to ask where you start with them in that conversation. And I was curious if you get pushback.
I do get pushback, but then I come back with what I mentioned earlier about the creativity,
Yeah.
about finding what tastes good to you. When you do that, and the issue for a lot of people is I want it to taste good on my palate. I need something that tastes good. And I heard tofu is nasty. I did too. That's why I wouldn't touch it for ages. But I got this recipe. I'm like, goodness gracious. Do we have any more tofu in the refrigerator? I mean, I love it. And I'm experimenting. I'm going to be using different flavors. Imagine what you like. Something I tried recently. And the thing is, open your mind and experiment. So I don't like to drink too much
Yeah.
regular coffee, because it makes my heart race. So I got this mushroom coffee, and it doesn't have the best flavor, but I added some vanilla soy milk. I added some nutmeg. I added some cinnamon and some stevia.
Hmm.
It's like I'm eating a donut. It's wonderful. I put all of my flavors together that I love. Like, oh, I can go back for seconds and thirds. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So we all have creativity. Think of your strength. Think of a time when you accomplished something you never thought possible and
Hmm.
harness that inner part of you to create the life that you deserve.
Oh, I love that thought about creating a life you don't want to escape from, a life you want to get up and do repeat the
Mhm.
next day. And don't you think it's all about how you position it to people about some of the changes instead of going, this is going to be hard. You
Mhm.
can explain your taste buds are going to change, your brain will
They
change.
do. Mine
The
did.
yeah, the fear comes from that addicted part of the brain saying, I can't give up my drug. What am I going to do without my Oreo cookies? What they're wanting is a zing in the brain
Yeah,
instead of the food. They really want the reaction that comes in the brain, the dopamine spike that comes from that. And so when you position it as, look, getting on these single ingredient foods over time, your taste buds change, your
absolutely.
your
You get
cravings
used
will
to it.
go away. Yeah. And you will literally start craving these natural foods because they become sweeter. And I don't know if you
You're
talk to them.
right.
They
You're
do.
absolutely right. I mean,
Fruits and vegetables are very satisfying.
fructose, fruit sugar. I
Hmm.
mean, there used to be a campaign about raisins, nature's candy.
Yeah.
Raisins are good. There's so much sugar
Hmm.
in fruit. When I want a
Hmm.
snack, I'm looking around like, I don't want that snack for my kids. I don't like processed food. I don't handle it well anymore. My body does not like stuff in packages. I want an apple or an orange or a pear. And over
Hmm.
time, your enzymes change. And what you used to be
Yeah.
able to digest, you can't. I could not digest steak now without getting sick. I've been a
Hmm.
vegetarian for years. And so over time, there's a physiologic change. What enzymes do you need? What enzymes do you not need? What do you upregulate? What do you downregulate? So your
Hmm.
body is in tune. Your body is like, a rubber band. It stretches with you. You just have to get the
Hmm.
ball rolling, get started, and you get to the
Hmm.
point that you don't want all these other things.
I
I'm
agree.
very much with you. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
happy to get a single food. I love it. And
Yeah.
my body loves it. I can feel
Yeah.
it. The other day, I ate something I shouldn't have, and within minutes, I felt like my serotonin just plummeted. I'm like, I
Yeah.
just felt like just
Hmm.
blah. I'm like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
Your body is in tune. Your
Yeah.
body's
Oh,
smart.
yeah. I agree. We just need to eat the foods that our bodies were literally designed to consume, and all will be well. It's when
Yes,
we veer off that track that things start going sideways. So, people
absolutely.
that are listening, especially for our audience who are in the middle of recovering from the effects of ultra processed food, what's your opinion on where do people start with that? And maybe if there's one habit that you would suggest that would make the biggest impact on lifestyle change? So where do you start with changing your food, and what's one habit that would make the biggest impact?
I would start with micro habits. So one
Hmm.
thing I like is I like to encourage people to do SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. And so it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to eat less in the way of ultra processed food. So turn it around before you take away, add. So if you have a tummy
Yes,
full of fruits, vegetables, and grains, you're not going to have room for that donut. You're not going to
I
have
love
room for
that.
all those other things. So add first. So let's do a SMART
Hmm.
goal. Let's say I want to have more greens, more broccoli. So S specific, I want more broccoli or greens. M measurable, I want one extra cup 3 times a week, 3 meals a week. A, achievable. Yes, you can go to the store and get it in most, unless you have transportation issues, are relevant, very relevant to your health. Time bound. Let me try this for a week and see how it goes. You
Hmm.
conquer that SMART goal. And then you go on to the next one and the next one. And so you keep stacking these habits
Hmm.
and you grow and you build upon the one before and you build a firm foundation. You look back in for 6 weeks and you see, I'm not buying all these things like I used to buy.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
need those things. I'm
Mm.
acclimating. My body's happy. And that is what I would recommend. Don't say, okay, I'm going to throw out everything. It's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. You just waste a
Not
lot
gonna
of money.
happen.
Go slowly.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself.
That's maybe the best advice ever, to go slowly. And I like to think of it as the crowding out changes.
Mhm.
Like it's just a different way of saying what you're saying, is start adding
Mhm.
in these things, and slowly it crowds out the things that we don't want to
Absolutely.
have in our life. Um, do you want to tell where people can find you? Give yourself a little self-promotion right
Well,
now.
yes, thank you. My website, the patientworld.net, I have merged that with my PTR reset, P prevent, T treat, R reverse, ptrreset.com. You put in either of those, you end up on the same site.
Nice.
But right now, you can take a free course, PTR Reset Sneak Peek, that explains to you the pillars of lifestyle medicine. And I also recently launched these 30 minutes for 30 years mini master classes. So people don't
Oh,
really have time, an hour here, an hour there during the workday. So I have them before work, lunchtime, in the evening, and even on Sundays, different topics. I'm going to be adding more topics
oh, that's
all
great.
the time. And so you can go and you can sign up for a mini master class at ptrreset.com, completely free. And if you want to
Beautiful.
reach out to me, just fill out the comments, send me a comment, and I'll be happy to respond.
And you must follow her on Instagram. Are you on Facebook too?
Yes, I'm on Facebook. My name is Ann Hester. That may be Coach Dr. Ann as well. I'm sorry, I'm
Okay.
blanking, but if you put in Dr. Ann Hester, um,
Okay.
and so my book is Patient Empowerment 101.
Mhm.
So it's Patient Empowerment or Ann Hester or Coach Dr. Ann. You put in any of those, you
Perfect.
should probably find me.
Perfect. I've really appreciated our time today. You're very, very knowledgeable, down
Thank
to
you.
earth, easy to understand. You're not like making things too complicated. So I really always admire the doctors that can make things easy to understand, because then it's applicable to people and they're more likely to take
Thank
the
you.
advice. So I really appreciate your time, and it shows
Question
how
for
much you
you.
care. Yes.
I appreciate that. Do you remember the show Dragnet?
Oh yeah, a long time ago. I think I was a kid. Yeah.
Remember the thing, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts.
Yes, yes, I do. That's it. That's you.
That's what I give her, just the facts.
Perfect. That's a perfect way to end on. And if you want to find out more about us, you can find us at realfoodrecovery4u.com. That's the number 4 and the letter U, and our book, Real Food Recovery. If food isn't the answer, what's the question, is out on Amazon today. Thanks so much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.